In many ways, the freak show was an explicitly Victorian phenomenon, defined as a commercial form of spectacle that showcased physiological oddities for entertainment and profit. The freak show thrived from the 1840s until 1914. At a time when the Victorians were fixated on taxonomy and classification, so-called freaks challenged those boundaries. From conjoined twins and beard ladies to towering figures, here are the 15 circus freaks that existed in real life. Number 15. Charles Tripp. Back then, Charles Tripp wasn't just the most famous armless performer alive, he was one of Canada's biggest entertainers. Born on July 6, 1855 in Woodstock, Tripp owed much of his recognition to his legendary partner and close friend Eli Bowen. Tripp was born without arms, but from a young age he became incredibly skilled at using his legs and feet as though they were hands. Though never exhibited in childhood, he became known locally for doing ordinary tasks in astonishing ways. At 17, restless and dreaming big, Tripp heard of a showman in New York who featured people with unusual gifts. He packed his bag and went, armed with nothing but a name, P.T. Barnum. When he arrived, he walked barefoot into Barnum's office and began his daily routine, brushing his hair, folding clothes, and putting on socks. Barnum hired him instantly. Over 5 decades, Tripp's career shifted from daily feats to showcasing penmanship and woodwork. His iconic tandem bike photo with Eli remains unforgettable. Tripp died in 1930, age 74. Number 14. Captain George Auger. Here's a guy who lived big. Captain George Auger, born William Henry Auger in Cardiff in 1881, became a towering sideshow star known as the Cardiff Giant. He stood 7 feet and 4 inches by age 18. At 12, he lied about his age to join the Royal Marines, but didn't last. Later, he worked as a theater doorman, married dancer Elizabeth Hearn, and started acting. In 1904, the couple sailed to New York, and Auger joined Barnum and Bailey. He became a U.S. citizen, wrote a play named Jack the Giant Killer, and toured non-stop. In 1922, just as he was about to film Why Worry with Harold Lloyd, he died suddenly after a Thanksgiving dinner. His body was so big it had to be lowered out of a second-story window. His bulldog Ringling whined the whole time. Though buried in an unmarked grave, Auger left a story taller than most. Whether dubbed by Queen Victoria or not, one thing's certain, the man owned every inch of his height and history. Number 13. Admiral Dot. Well, now let's rewind to 1868. Barnum's American Museum had just burned down for the last time. Everyone thought he'd retired. Yeah, right? While sightseeing in San Francisco, Barnum caught wind of Leopold S. Kahn, a little person he claimed was even smaller than Tom Thumb. Barnum snatched him up, dubbed him Admiral Dot, and proudly displayed him in his hotel lobby for weeks. Not long after, Dot joined Barnum's new circus venture, P.T. Barnum's Grand Traveling Museum, Menagerie, Caravan, and Circus. Dot also worked for the American Lilliputian Company and later for Barnum's arch-rival Adam Forepaugh. In 1892, he married Lottie Swartwood, another little person, and settled in White Plains, New York, where he opened the Admiral Dot Hotel, nicknamed Hotel Pee-wee. Sadly, both he and his daughter were victims of the 1918 influenza pandemic. Despite his miniature size, Admiral Dot left a massive mark on circus history, standing shoulder to shoulder with other legends of the sideshow world. Number 12. Angelo Rossetto. Well, we're not kidding or joking. Angelo Rossetto had one of the longest, weirdest, and most impressive film careers of any sideshow performer. At just 2 feet and 11 inches, he managed to rack up over 70 film credits between 1927 and 1987. Unlike others from Freaks, Rossetto never needed the circus to find his audience. He did it all. Monsters, aliens, sidekicks, elves, ancient Roman courtiers, sometimes buried in costumes, sometimes just himself. He went by names like Little Mo, Angelino, or his real name. Born in Omaha, he made a steady income from his LA newsstand, using film work to supplement it. His first film, The Beloved Rogue 1927, alongside John Barrymore. He showed up in cult gems like Spooks Run Wild, The Corpse Vanishes, Dracula vs. Frankenstein, Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. As Master, and even played a little pig in Babes in Toyland. Rossetto also featured in H.R. Puffstuff, Lidsville, and many others. While most vanished from Hollywood after Freaks, Angelo just kept going. Number 11. Johnny Mia. If sideshow banners could talk, they'd probably all sound like Johnny Mia. Born in 1937 in Bristol, Connecticut, Mia was raised in a black and white world of newspaper cartoons. His dad was a cartoonist, but color called to him. At 14, he hit his first carnival and met Hugo Zucchini, the human cannonball. Zucchini also painted banners that lit the fuse. Mia started as a clown, then learned fire-eating and sword-swallowing. After a stint at RISD, he returned to the Midway. In 1956, he toured with the Ross Manning Show under Leola, aka Homer Tracy, a performer known as half-man, half-woman. Leola hired him to repaint battered banners, and that was that. Mia became a legend. Influenced by artists like Snap Wyatt and Fred Johnson, he mixed weird with whimsical. By the 80s, galleries were calling it folk art. He wasn't sold on the term but played along. Today, his work hangs in the Smithsonian and Barnum Museum. Mia still writes, paints, and keeps the carnival alive, one story at a time. Now let's move to number scene. Eddie Carmel. Eddie Carmel, later called the Jewish Giant, rose to notoriety during the 1960s sideshow era. Born in Israel and raised in the Bronx, his rapid adolescent growth stemmed from an inoperable pituitary tumor that caused acromegaly. By adulthood, his immense stature made him a fixture in circuses and fairs, though he often exaggerated details about his size and lineage. Carmel's most enduring legacy came from his collaboration with photographer Diane Arbus, who first captured him at the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus in 1960. 10 years later, her haunting photograph, a Jewish giant at home with his parents, cemented his place in cultural memory. The image depicts Eddie looming over his Orthodox parents in their Bronx apartment, his father stern, his mother adoring, the domestic tension palpable. Carmel himself was witty yet difficult, known to compose impromptu poems, demand money for photographs, and embellish stories of descent from towering rabbis. Despite pain and disability, he avoided complaint. Eddie Carmel died in 1972 at just 36, leaving behind both spectacle and tragedy. Number 9. Lady Olga. Jane Barnell, remembered as Lady Olga, was among the most celebrated bearded ladies of her time. Born in Wilmington, North Carolina, in either 1871 or 1877, she endured a turbulent childhood. Hirsute since infancy, her mother sold her to a circus at age 4 while her father was away. Abandoned during a German tour, she was eventually retrieved by her father, but her path towards sideshow life was set. In adulthood, Jane joined John Robinson's circus in the 1890s and later performed with Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey, Fourpaw Cells, Coney Island's Dreamland Circus, and Hubert's Museum in Times Square. Unlike performers whose conditions could be fabricated, her beard was authentic, once advertised at 13 inches, the longest in the world. Her most lasting cultural impact came with her appearance in Todd Browning's 1932 cult film Freaks, where she played herself. Possessing Russian, Jewish, and Catawba ancestry, Barnell embodied both authenticity and resilience. She retired quietly before her death in 1951, but her image remains iconic, symbolizing the line between exhibition and cinema. Number 8. Angus MacAskill. Angus MacAskill, the famed Nova Scotia giant, was regarded as one of history's strongest men. Born in Scotland in 1825, he grew up on Cape Breton Island in Nova Scotia. Remarkably undersized as a child, his massive growth spurt began at 15, eventually bringing him to 7 feet 9 inches tall and 425 pounds. His palms spanned 12 inches, his chest 50 inches, and his boots measured 18 inches. Despite shying from public life, he gained worldwide renown for feats of strength, lifting anchors over 2,000 pounds, dragging immense loads and crushing a challenger's hand with a single grip. By 1849, P.T. Barnum recruited him to tour alongside Tom Thumb, billing them as the tallest and the smallest. Crowds marveled as Stratton danced on Angus's palm or fit into his coat pocket. Though often reluctant to perform, Macaskill became legendary. In 1863, he died suddenly at 38 after a brief illness. His colossal coffin stunned mourners, and today his grave in Englishtown honors him as Canada's greatest giant. Number 7. Jeannie Tomaini. Jeannie Tomaini, born Bernice Evelyn Smith in 1916, came into the world with twisted arms and no legs. Measuring just over 2 feet tall, she radiated determination from childhood, performing exhibitions as early as age 3. Despite enduring abuse under an exploitative guardian, Jeannie's spirit remained unbroken. In 1936, she met Al Tomaini, billed as the world's tallest man, and love changed everything. The pair eloped in Cleveland, honeymooned at Niagara Falls, and soon toured as the world's strangest married couple. They eventually settled in Gibsonton, Florida, a haven for sideshow performers, where they built Giant's Camp, a fishing lodge and community hub. Together, they raised 2 adopted daughters, donated an ambulance to their town, and became beloved local figures. Al's passing in 1962 ended their decades-long partnership, yet Jeannie carried on, running the camp until her death in 1999. Today, their great-grandson Alex Marrow continues the family's circus legacy, ensuring the Tomaini name endures. Jeannie's life was proof that love and resilience can outshine any limitation. Number 6. Gargantua. Gargantua the Great wasn't just a gorilla, he was the salvation of a struggling circus. Marketed as the world's most terrifying living creature, he almost single-handedly pulled the Ringling Brothers out of financial collapse when he debuted in 1938. Brooding, scarred, and perpetually hostile, Gargantua fascinated audiences the moment he appeared. Born in the wild and originally called Buddy, he was later renamed after the colossal figure from French literature, an identity that carried far more menace under the big top. Circus lore crafted his legend, insisting he loathed humanity, a narrative that only fueled the public's desire to see him. Posters showed him snarling, and he was always kept in isolation to heighten his fearsome reputation. In a publicity stunt, promoters introduced a second gorilla, dubbed Mrs. Gargantua, to sell the idea of romance. Gargantua, however, ignored her completely. Whether truth, myth, or marketing ploy, his presence filled tents everywhere. He wasn't a performer, he was the attraction, a raw force behind steel bars. At a desperate time, Gargantua truly saved the show. Number 5. The Penguin Lady. Ruth Minion's unique body shape made her instantly recognizable. Born with phocomelia, her limbs developed into flipper-like arms, fused fingers, shortened bones, and she waddled more than she walked, which earned her the nickname the Penguin Lady. Minion fully leaned into the persona, often performing in a 2-piece swimsuit that highlighted her rare physique, but her act was never just a gimmick. She played the marimba, a wooden African percussion instrument similar to a xylophone, and earned genuine praise for her musical skills. Her talent led her to major stages like the 1933 Century of Progress Exposition in Chicago and both 1939-40 New York World's Fairs. Off-stage, Ruth's life was just as full. She married twice, first to a man named Largo, with whom she had a healthy child, and then to Earl Davis, known in the circus world as Hoppy the Frog Boy. The couple toured together for nearly 10 years before retiring quietly in the 1960s. Their story was one of shared strength, art, and understanding. Number 4. James Morris. James Morris pushed his body into places most can't imagine. Born in the late 19th century, he quickly discovered he could twist and bend his limbs in shocking ways. While other children played stickball, James folded his arms into loops, stretched his fingers like a string, and coiled his torso like putty. His bizarre flexibility led him to the circus, where he soon became a main attraction. He went head-to-head with contortionist Felix the Elastic Man, mesmerizing crowds by dislocating shoulders, tying limbs behind his back, and turning his neck at terrifying angles. Doctors suspected he had Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, a rare condition marked by hyperflexibility and elastic skin. Morris toured with Ringling Brothers, leaving audiences speechless with every performance. His act wasn't magic or illusion, it was raw, controlled manipulation of the human form. He transformed a rare condition into an unforgettable spectacle, proving that talent sometimes hides inside the most unexpected frames. So please don't try his stunts at home. Number 3. Pauline Musters. Pauline Musters was born in 1876 and became an international phenomenon as the shortest fully grown woman ever recorded. Measuring just 58 centimeters tall, she stunned scientists and charmed audiences across continents. But her fame didn't rest on stature alone. Pauline was a true entertainer, nimble, charismatic, and skilled on stage. She wasn't showcased as an oddity. She captivated audiences through acrobatics, dance, and lively banter, bringing joy to every venue she visited. She toured both Europe and the US, becoming a standout in each show. Her presence lit up stages and left crowds clapping for more. In 1909, her story took a tragic turn. At just 19 years old, Pauline passed away from pneumonia and meningitis. But her legacy didn't fade. She left behind a career defined not by inches but by heart. Her life remains a powerful reminder that joy, strength, and artistry can come from the smallest of frames. Number 2. Prince Randian. Some inherit royalty, others make their name from nothing. Randian, famously known as the human snake, did just that. Born in British Guiana, now Guyana, in the late 1800s, Randian had no arms or legs due to tetra amelia syndrome. But he didn't let that stop him. Randian became a touring phenomenon across the United States, performing for major circuses. His independence shocked audiences. He could write, shave, and roll cigarettes using only his lips. Every act defied expectation. His most iconic moment was immortalized in the 1932 cult classic Freaks, where he rolls and lights a cigarette with ease. That scene wasn't about entertainment. It was a challenge to every assumption. Randian didn't ask for pity. He demanded respect. His talent, determination, and fierce self-possession turned him into a symbol. He didn't just perform, he rewrote the rules of stage presence. He remains a lasting figure in circus history, celebrated not for what he lacked but for what he brought to every single performance. Number 1. Al Tomaini. Al Tomaini, once billed as the tallest man alive, claimed a towering height of 8 feet 4.5 inches, though official records list him at 7 feet 4. The youngest of 7, he began dwarfing his family early. By age 12, he had already passed his father, who stood 6 feet 1. Doctors later attributed his growth to an overactive pituitary gland, confirmed by medical imaging. Tomaini's towering frame led him to circus life, where he performed as a giant. In 1936, while appearing at the Great Lakes Exposition, he met Jeannie Tomaini, the living half-girl born without legs. Despite their differences, they married and became known as the world's strangest married couple. After leaving show business, the pair settled in Gibsonton, Florida, a haven for retired sideshow performers. There, they opened Giant's Camp, a trailer park and restaurant. Away from the spotlight, their story transformed into one of deep partnership and resilience. Their quiet retirement proved that love, not height, was their greatest legacy. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for hanging with us, and we'll see you very soon.